Welcome to a special meeting of the Brockton City Council. Would you please rise and salute the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I recognize a quorum. This meeting is being held in accordance with Governor Charlie Baker's emergency order dated March 12, 2020, which relieves a public body from the obligation of meeting in public, as long as we provide remote access for people to view the proceedings and the votes. You may do so on Brockton Community Access Channel 12 and on YouTube Live. With that, Mr. Clerk, would you proceed to the agenda?
Item number 1, call of the meeting.
Accepted and filed.
Item number 2, officer's return of notice.
Accepted and filed.
Item number 3, the receipt of the official fiscal year 2022 budget appropriations from Mayor Robert Sullivan and brief remarks by the Mayor and Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson.
This will be referred to Finance, but Mr. Mayor, would you like to address the Council?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the Council. I'm really excited to be here tonight as we begin the process next week. I want to first of all thank the Council President. I want to thank the CFO. I want to thank Superintendent Thomas and Aldo Petronio and the Clerk's Office. This has been a wonderful collaboration. As you know, last year we provided the books 8 days before the hearing. We all agreed to do better this year. They were delivered both school and city last Friday, which is actually 10 days before. Some of the old-time councils that were here when I served, sometimes we got it 2 days before. So it's about working together, transparency, giving ample time. I will tell you, I feel a lot better standing here this year as opposed to last year. Last year, the financial circumstances of the city and the Commonwealth were unknown, really unknown. We didn't know how many people we were going to lay off, and thankfully, we didn't lay off any on the city side. School side, we did need to. But thanks to the wonderful advocacy of our delegation, our 3 reps and our senator, it's a new day right now with our Chapter 90 funds. Student Opportunity Act is going to be fully paid this year, which is a game changer for Brockton Public School students. What is going to be before you tonight is simply the order. All department heads are ready, willing, and able to answer all your questions as we begin next week. It should be a great conversation piece. But I will tell you right now that the budget, although it's, in my humble opinion, awesome that we're able to do what we can do right now with that budget, we also, and I dictated it to Troy, we need to be conservative because we're not out of COVID yet. So our hotel tax, our motel tax, our meals tax, a lot of that is kind of uncertain right now. And I don't expect it to skyrocket in a positive financial manner for this year. But with that being said, we're almost $494 million budget. It's $493,840,543. It is an increase of $43 million, but I just want to clarify what that $43 million. It's $43 million from last June when you accepted the budget. Now, bear in mind, since that time we did an amendment, a supplemental budget, and now we also have the student opportunity. So those 2 factors bring it up to the $43 million, which again is great for the city of Brockton. I also just want to let you know that some of the recommendations that I made previously before you are in the budget. The cadet program is something that Chief Gomes and I have mentioned before. Also, the Community Justice Task Force made that recommendation. I truly feel that this is a great opportunity to fund it so that we can have homegrown boys and girls that want to go into law enforcement. We're going to do it on the police side this year, and my hope is next year we could transfer that also to the fire side. I really think that that's something that's creative. The only other municipality that we're aware of right now that does this in the Commonwealth is the city of Boston. So again, I really, truly support that endeavor. In terms of funding the fair Brockton Public Schools, again, I want to thank the school committee, all 7 members that ratified a budget that was forwarded to me as the mayor, and I subsequently forwarded to you as the legislative body. We did not have to lay anybody off. Matter of fact, we were able to come up with positions that had been long put aside and also create new ones, right? The diversity and inclusion is again, something that was long overdue on the school side, and that is here. Half of it is grant funded, half of it is going to be, if you ratify it, city budget funded for year 1. And then my hope is going forward, we'll be able to do 100% on the city side. I also just want to let you know that some of the other endeavors that are there is increased staffing on the fire, adding 6 firefighters. Last year, I needed to, with the help of Troy and Chief Williams, I needed to put a pause on that because of the uncertainty of the budget. But now that we have a much clearer picture of what we're going to be in terms of a financial picture, we're able to put those back on. And really, I support that endeavor, and I hope that you do as well. We've also, with this budget, been able to fully fund our self-funded health insurance program again. And we've taken care of our retirees. We'll never forget our retirees. So the ongoing retirement costs are incorporated within this budget as well. So I am really excited to be here this year as opposed to last year. And I also know that there's been a lot of effort and hard work here on the city side to make sure, number one, that we take care of the services that the taxpayers, the people that elect us, the constituents deserve. And we are fully able to do that, in my humble opinion. I also want to let you know that last year's budget, and I know it's, I think, page 2 or 3 of that, was recognized. We had talked about the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. They selected the city of Brockton, and we got the award. It was kind of a pie in the sky, in my humble opinion. I didn't think we'd be able to do it. Troy and his team said, I think we can, and we did. So we got the designation, and that's really just a wonderful thing. It had never been done historically in the city of Brockton. So I know tonight is just not a night to answer a lot of questions, but I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for doing your deep dive on the budget. I know all of you are doing that. Between now and next Monday, if you have any questions for me, please do not hesitate. And same thing for Troy. He's always ready, willing, and able to meet with anybody, Zoom, in person, or call. Because we are starting to transition out of COVID, thank God, everybody got a little gift from me. It's under $50, as I told Attorney Resnick, but it's a Brockton mask and disinfectant. We have quite a few of those, so if you have any constituents that want them or need them, please let me know. With that being said, Mr. President, I thank you for your leadership, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clarkson?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening. Good evening, members of the council. Mr. Clerk, you're not usually here when I'm here at the Finance Committee, so it's very nice to see you as well, sir. I will echo much of what the mayor said, provide you a little more detail on our thinking behind the revenues that are the building blocks of this budget, but I would like to start in sharing with you what the mayor just said, and that is the importance of that GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. There are very few communities in the Commonwealth who have received that award, and only one other in Plymouth County, I believe, the town of Hanover. This award demonstrates new heights in the mayor's effort to lead a transparent government in which the citizens can not only be informed but engaged. So the budget that you have before you is similar to what's online, but online, and anyone at home that's watching this can follow along in this discussion and the discussions next week with an interactive budget that's online. And so when we speak to page 262, folks at home can click on that page in the table of contents and go right to that page, or follow with departments in the interactive. So there's two different forms of the budget online. One is a replica, a PDF of this book, but it is searchable. And then the other is an interactive, all the same information, but an interactive format where you can go by department or by revenue category to examine and really learn more about the numbers behind the numbers in this budget. So it fulfills the mayor's goal of having a more transparent and approachable government, and I'm proud to stand with him in presenting it to you. Most importantly, I note to you that this budget, as required by law, is balanced, and it continues, despite the increases that the mayor talked about, it continues to be conservative and sustainable in its revenue approach. As the mayor mentioned, we have recovered from the COVID, not from COVID, the pandemic, but from COVID-level budgeting. And so this budget represents to you a restoration of the level of service that we saw in the city before the pandemic. But it continues to look forward to future years and is conservative in its approach. And that's a term you'll hear me use a lot tonight and next week in our approach, because we want to make sure that the level of service that we're providing in this budget is sustainable not only throughout the next fiscal year, but for the next several years. And so we're looking ahead to building a budget that we can continue to look at to provide the same level of service, but to be affordable to our taxpayers. Our revenues in this budget, and so the revenues are the building blocks of any budget. And as I've noted to you before, what we do, along with the mayor and his team, is before we put together one penny of spending plan, we really take a look at the available revenues and build the budget around what we think is a responsible approach to the money that we're going to take in for the ensuing year. The game changer, of course, in this next year, as the mayor mentioned, is the Student Opportunity Act money. We see in this budget year to year an increase of more than $21 million in state aid. That's both education aid and general government aid. But most of that, though, is provided by the legislature to support public education here in Brockton. And so, of course, I join the mayor in offering praise to our legislative delegation for fighting for that Student Opportunity Act so that we can begin to build back the Brockton School Department and provide those services to our students. We, however, as we put this budget together, as we always do, but even more so this year coming out of the pandemic, really dug into the details on the revenues. And I sat with leaders of our community many times to dig down and drill down into the details about our revenue projections. Just to share a couple with you, and for the folks looking at home, I'm on page 82 of the budget. We looked at a category called local receipts, which is a little over $22 million of our revenue picture. And as the mayor mentioned, we really wanted to take a look at how are we doing so far this year, and can we restore revenue projections to pre-pandemic levels? In some cases, the answer is yes. In other cases, the answer is no. So, as the mayor mentioned, our motel tax in FY20, we actually took in almost $700,000 in motel taxes. For this current fiscal year, 21, we ramped down that estimate to $375,000. And based on where we're at so far this year, we're going to keep that at $375,000. But meals tax, an unexpected side effect of the pandemic was the significant increase in takeout. And so the meals tax didn't suffer like we thought it might. So for instance, in FY20, our total for meals tax was $1.1 million. We ramped that down for this year to $500,000, but you'll see in your budget for next year, we're projecting back up to $1 million in meals tax revenue, which is a sign of a healthy economy in Brockton. But there's thought behind that. So as of today, our meals tax revenue for this year is $938,000. And so we're on track. We've exceeded the $500,000 projection, but on track to be over $1 million. And so we feel comfortable with the $1 million projection. That's just one example I wanted to provide you to show you the level of analysis and thought that went into this budget. In addition to a couple of the highlights, the mayor just provided you just a couple of other notes on what is essentially a level service budget, other than some of the personnel impacts that the mayor mentioned. He mentioned our health insurance program, and we continue to have a very healthy trust fund. What we've projected for next year is a 3% increase in premiums for our employees, but another premium holiday to be able to provide a relief for our employees for 1 month during the year of the premiums that they have to pay. Our retirement assessment, as you know, we're working on a potential pension obligation bond to bring before you. We have fully funded the retirement assessment for this year in this budget, but should we proceed with a pension obligation bond, some of that money that's in the budget to pay our retirement liability, we may suggest to use that for the reserve fund that we've talked about to guard against any fluctuations in the market. So we're aware that that $30 million is in there, but may suggest an alternative use for it. And finally, just A couple of other issues as we enter the budget discussions. As the mayor mentioned in his letter, and I believe I mentioned in mine, we don't propose any funding from the American Rescue Plan in this budget. Rather, the mayor has suggested that that ARPA money be used to invest in the city, and so there's a whole slate of investments, capital investments that we're working on when that money is received, and projects that money will be dedicated to. There are no capital items in this budget. This is the operating budget, but we are still making progress on our overall capital plan and hope to discuss that with you soon. So that is a very brief overview. Obviously, we're going to get into much more significant detail in our meeting next week, but I wanted to just provide you a small window into the tremendous work that went into this budget. The mayor and his chief of staff, Kerry Richards, my team, and every department head in the city contributed to what is in these pages, and it is a team effort and a document of which we can all be proud. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and as the mayor noted, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Briefly, councilors, you'll notice we start at 6:30 next week, the 7th through the 10th. I did that purposely because we all work, and it is my hope that with proper preparation, if we go through the budget page by page in advance of the different nights where a respective budget is scheduled to be heard, that we should not be here beyond about 9:30. I'm really convinced, and I've watched all of you be very careful and analytical. I'm convinced that between 6:30 and 9:30, we can very meticulously analyze this budget and make sure it's the spending plan that we want for our constituents. This isn't an evening ordinarily when we have a lot of questions. If someone has something that they absolutely need to ask of the mayor or the chief financial officer, pardon me, I'll give you a little leeway, but if not, we would take this up beginning the 7th at 6:30 with the list of budgets. I will note the school department is on Monday evening, and I thought it was important to have the biggest budget, the most important budget in terms of spending and also what we do for our kids on the first night, and not wait until 3 or 4 days later when obviously we'll all be a little bit fatigued. So, Councilor Cardozo.
Mr. Clarkson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. I just have a question about the self-funded insurance versus the state GIC. I had requested at one point that you provide us a comparison between those two. Is that something you can do soon, before next week's budget hearing?
Certainly, when we meet later this week, we can go into detail on that. So I can tell you, as I did when we chatted about it in this space before, the cost, the premium costs may be lower, and I haven't looked at the GIC rates in a bit, so I will do that before our meeting on Friday. But the key, I think, to looking at a comparison between a self-funded insurance plan and the Group Insurance Commission is that the notion of savings, I think, is a bit of a misnomer, because it doesn't save money. It shifts the costs from the municipality to the employees. And so generally, when you have a robust and healthy trust fund like ours, where we're actually for a couple years in a row now able to return some of the money to the employees, I think we would be hard-pressed to find a scenario in which a change to the GIC would be a cost savings, but I'm more than happy to discuss those details with you.
Okay, I think it would be great if all of the councilors received that information, because there has been some thoughts that it would save us a lot of money, so it'd be good for us to look at that.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilors, anything else? I will remind our people who watch at home, the City Council cannot increase an appropriation. The only thing we can do is reduce an appropriation or approve it as submitted. I think a lot of people are under the misunderstanding that we somehow can say, well, we don't want this much, we want a little more for libraries, or we want a little more for DPW, and we do not have that within our power. So That said, it makes our task all the more important to make sure that the mayor's spending plan is in alignment with what we know our constituents want. So if there is no, actually, Councilor Iannieri, do you want to remind people about the ordinance committee meeting tomorrow night?
Exactly, Mr. Chairman, thank you for saying that. Don't forget, tomorrow night, those that are on the ordinance committee, we're meeting at 6:30 p.m. right here in the council chambers, so I would hope that we have a quorum so that we can get through. We have 4 items there, and it will be, as usual, and it'll also be televised as it has in the past. So 6:30 tomorrow evening in this chambers here. Thank you.
All right. Councilor Azak.
Mr. President, a moment of councilors' recognition.
Yes.
This Saturday, June 5th, is Brockton High School's graduation. Our 2021 seniors will be graduating this Saturday. They will be graduating on the field, which is wonderful, thanks to our superintendent, our mayor, and the school committee for organizing this. The green and red house will graduate at 11 a.m. Their ceremony will start at 11 a.m. And then the azure and yellow buildings will start at 2:30 p.m. So I know that BCA covers it. It's always a wonderful event. I know that myself and many of my colleagues will participate in this ceremony, as well as the mayor and school committee members. But I would like to say that this class, the class of 2021, missed out on so much. They missed out on their junior and senior year activities. They spent a lot of their time in front of their computers, and but they still excelled. They really make us proud, and I would just like to congratulate them and wish them all the best in the future. And we have 3 that are kind of really connected to the city council. One of them is Miss Grace Lally, who is Councilor Lally's sister. We have our camera woman, Leandra Montero, who's been behind our camera for the past year, and she's done amazing work with us, so congratulations to Leandra and Grace. And I cannot not congratulate my own daughter, Georgina Eunice, who I am very proud of, and these young ladies make us proud, as well as the rest of their classmates. They've worked really hard, and they deserve really to celebrate and get their diplomas this Saturday. So best wishes to the class of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Happy birthday to my son, Winthrop III. The budget having been referred to Finance and business is concluding, unless, Mr. Mayor, you have something?
If I could, Mr. President, just 2 things to follow up on what Councilor Azak said. Friday night at 5:30 at Marciano Stadium, the graduates of the Huntington and Keith Center will be there, graduating on Friday. It's like 35 students, just want to let you know. And then tomorrow is a historic day here in the city of Brockton. Today's June 1st, it's Pride Month. Tomorrow will be the first time the city of Brockton and administration, a mayor has authorized the flag be raised here. So again, tomorrow, LGBTQ plus ceremony. So if anybody is here and able to come tomorrow at 11:30, we'd love to see you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Business having concluded, we are adjourned.